This is the Google Pixel 8a, Google's latest mid-range smartphone, and I've got to say, it's pretty solid. The Pixel 8a is a follow-up to Google's Pixel 7a, and it's also the budget version of the Pixel 8. And I mean, you probably could have gotten all that from the name of the phone, but just in case you couldn't, it's the brand new Google mid-range phone. In a lot of ways, the Google Pixel 8a is an incredibly good value. You get a lot for the money. However, there are some other options out there that you might want to consider if you want to pick up this phone. So in today's video, I'm going to run down the Google Pixel 8a, let you know what I think of this phone after using it for the last couple days, and whether I think this phone is worth it. Now, this is not a long-term review because, like I said, I just got this phone a couple days ago. In fact, I pre-ordered it like a week ago and it came in a couple days early. I don't know why, but I'm down with it. And the first thing I noticed about this phone when I pulled it out of the box was how good this phone felt in the hand. So this is a $500 phone. It starts at $499 for the 128GB version and goes up to $559 for the 256GB version, which is the first time you could do that on a Pixel A series phone. And while no, $500 is not a little amount of money, when it comes to a premium smartphone, $500 is a pretty decent price. And when you actually pull this phone out of the box, you'll realize how nice the build quality is and the industrial design. So visually, this phone doesn't change up that much from previous iterations like the Pixel 7a or the Pixel 8. For me, the biggest update between the 8a and the 7a are the rounded corners, and I've got to admit they do feel really good in the hand. But the thing that I noticed the most when I pulled this phone out of the box was the finishes of the materials and also the weight of the phone. Now, in a lot of cases, people like lighter tech. However, when you hold something that has some heft to it, it really does feel like a more premium product. Now, this is not a heavy phone. This phone is like 7 ounces or something like that. But it does feel like a very premium phone, and honestly, it feels like a phone that's more expensive than it actually is. Speaking of the materials, the back of the phone is now made up of a matte composite, which feels like this really nice frosted glass. You've got the Google logo there in the center, and that's really all of the text that you have in the back of the phone. Of course, you do have the classic Pixel cyborg eye going on, but I really don't mind that, and the sort of anodized aluminum, assuming that's what it is, looks really nice contrasting with this this matte material. The frame of the phone, like the camera housing, is made up of aluminum, and it comes in this beautiful blue finish. And speaking of the colors, there are actually 4 colors to choose from on the Pixel 8a. This blue color Google has named Bay. You've also got Aloe, which is the green one, Porcelain, which is the white one, and Obsidian, which is the black one. Now, I really like both of the colors that they released, the green and the blue. I personally like the blue because I'm a fan of blue over green, but both phones look great. I mean, the black looks good and the white looks good, but when I buy a new phone, I usually like going for a crazier color because I like something that looks a little bit different. And this blue, while not insane or crazy, is a really nice looking color that is relatively vibrant. Getting back to the housing and the materials, this phone is IP67 dust and water resistant, which is a good thing. On the front of the phone, you've got Corning Gorilla Glass 3. However, unfortunately, you do still have this little bit of a chin and pretty wide bezels around the outside of the screen. Now, to be fair, compared to bezels on phones like 3 years ago, these would be tiny, but when it comes to modern standards for smartphones, they are bigger than, say, an iPhone or even the Pixel 8. Honestly, it doesn't bother me too much though, and you've got a 6.1-inch display, which looks really, really good, and it's significantly brighter than last year's model. In fact, at peak brightness, this can get 2,000 nits. When it comes to display, this phone has a 1080 by 2400, 430 ppi display, which means it's very, very crisp and very, very clear. The other thing that they've updated on the Pixel 8a is that they've given it a 120 hertz capable screen. Now, it's not going to be running at 120 hertz all the time. It's actually a feature that you have to turn on. And when you turn it on, it doesn't even mean that your phone is always running at 120 hertz. It's variable. So whenever it needs to run at 120 hertz, it can, like when you're doing something like this. To be fair, most people probably won't notice that, especially the people who are buying this phone, who are probably coming from an older phone that doesn't use 120 hertz screens. But it is nice to have. It does modernize this phone a little bit. And I've got to say, compared to the Pixel 6a that I actually have up in my office right now that I use for like a little media device, the screen on this thing is ridiculous. I mean, it's so crisp, it's so bright, the colors are beautiful. It's a really nice looking display. When it comes to power, this phone is using the Google Tensor 3, which is fine. It's nothing extraordinary, but it gets the job done. I didn't have any slowdown issues when I was playing games like Asphalt 9 or Real Racing 3, which are more graphically intensive games. It ran fine for me. No issues whatsoever. Or even when I was just scrolling through eBay or YouTube or something like that, no slowdowns whatsoever. Anything that you need to use your phone for, the Tensor 3 can handle. So I actually just reviewed the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, incredible phone, which if you guys haven't checked that review out, make sure to click the link at the top of the screen. But one thing that this phone can actually do better, in my opinion, than the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is the face unlock. The face unlock is instantaneous. In fact, most times, you don't even realize that the lock screen is there. It's wild. You also have an under-screen fingerprint scanner, which is also great. Works incredibly fast. Getting into this phone is a breeze. I'm not gonna lie. It feels really, really fast and really responsive, and makes it a seamless experience. One thing that just irks me about phones, especially modern phones, is when it takes a while to get into your phone and start using it. Like, if the only option is to type in the PIN, which I don't really know any phones that's really the only option, but, or maybe the fingerprint reader is slow, or the face unlock is slow. It's really nice to have a phone that does it so quickly, so seamlessly, with no issues. Now, something that hasn't really changed from the Pixel 7a on this phone is the cameras. The cameras on this phone are actually really solid for a mid-range phone. In fact, I took this phone out in my yard to take a few photos and compare it to the iPhone Pro Max, which is kind of my go-to when it comes to vlogging cameras. And I was really impressed by how good the quality of this camera was, even for a phone that's like $600 cheaper than the iPhone Pro Max. And to get into some of the tech specs of the camera, you've got a 64 megapixel main camera, which can obviously record in 4K in both 30 and 60 frames per second. You've also got a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, which is fine. It can also record in 4K, 30 to 60 frames per second. And the front facing camera, which I would never use for anything other than like an Instagram story, is also 13 megapixels. And of course it can also record in 4K. But for me, whenever I'm vlogging or recording anything on my phone, I usually only use the main camera, or in the case of my iPhone, sometimes I'll use the ultra wide camera because that camera is incredible. Same thing on the Samsung Galaxy S24 actually. But why don't we do this? Why don't we record the next part of the review with this phone, and you guys can let me know what you think of the video and sound quality. It's crazy because I've been doing YouTube since 2007 was my first YouTube video. And I was using like a, I don't know, some kind of Canon, I forget what it was. I currently use Sony A7s as my main camera. I'm using an A7 IV to record this video. But for all of my vlogging on my main channel, which if you guys haven't checked it out, links in the description below. For all my vlogs, I use my iPhone. Because it's amazing. The sound quality is good, the video quality is great. There's just no point in carrying around a huge camera anymore, and I want to see if this camera is capable of vlogging, which I'm sure it is. It's just, is it the quality that we want? It's nice having two cameras going because I can check framing. Oof, okay. Maybe I will have to use the ultra wide on this one. So this is the video quality on the Pixel 8a. This is what it would look like if I was vlogging on the main camera. Obviously, because this phone is a Google phone, it's got all of those crazy AI features that you have through Google Photos, like Magic Editor, which does a great job of making your photos look awesome. Some other great features include Photo Unblur and Magic Eraser, and you get all of it on the Pixel 8a, plus 7 years of OS updates. So in theory, you shouldn't have to update your phone for 7 years, but let's be real, if you're watching this YouTube video, you probably update your phone every 2 to 3 years. Let's do wide angle. Ooh, yeah, the framing is definitely better on wide angle. Does the video quality look as good? One feature I absolutely love is Circle to Search, which allows you to circle really anything online, and it'll search it for you and give you an answer through Google. The more I use it, the more impressed by it I become. Like, you can search an NBA player's shoes while they're on the court. It's wild, and for a sneakerhead like me, that's a pretty useful feature. Okay, so there is the video quality of the Pixel 8a. Let me know what you guys think. I just took a picture of myself. There's actually a bunch of other video and photo and AI features that I could tell you about, but I won't bore you guys with that. You just have to dig into the phone and figure them out. They're actually available on a lot of other Google phones, or at least a lot of the newer Google phones, and probably the Pixel 9 whenever that releases. But all around, it's a great Android experience. Obviously, you're using stock Android, which looks amazing and is very useful. And I just love the design of this phone. I think it's gorgeous. Now, it's not that different than other Pixels, but I do really love the look of Pixel phones. They're just playful and they're fun, and this phone for $499 feels like a really good value. But that doesn't mean it actually is. For $499, you're getting a mid-range Google smartphone, which is pretty decent. It's got good cameras, it's got great AI features, it's pretty fast, and it looks great. However, for a bit more money, you could also get the Google Pixel 8, which is a slightly more premium version of this phone, albeit a little bit older. And in a lot of ways, that phone might be a better buy. So if you were buying this phone in a vacuum, I'd say that this phone was an incredible deal. It's incredibly capable, the photos look great, the videos look fine. You guys saw the vlogging quality, it was fine. But compared to some of Google's own other phones, this might not be the way to go. However, currently around the release of this phone, Google is giving you a lot of incentives to buy this phone. For example, when I bought this phone, I got $150 in Google credit, which I used to buy a bunch of Google Home products. So if you were planning to buy Google devices anyway, at least $150 worth of Google devices, you could say that this phone is actually $150 cheaper than $500, which, let me do the math really quick, is $350. And for $350, you're getting an incredible deal. So it really comes down to your use case. I've heard in some countries the Pixel 8 is not available, at least not for the price that it is in the United States. And in that situation, maybe the 8A is the way to go. But I would say for most people, might be some better options out there. And if you already own a 7A, you probably do not need to upgrade to the 8A. However, if you are looking for a great Google flagship phone, And considering buying the 8, I would say wait till the Pixel 9 gets announced. Wait to see what that phone has to offer, see if it's worth getting over the Pixel 8 or the Pixel 8a. At that point, the Pixel 8 will probably drop in price, and maybe the Pixel 8 will be an even better value because the 9 doesn't offer that much more, or maybe the 9 is like this huge monumental improvement over the Pixel 8, and that's the phone you want to grab. I would say just wait, see what's coming out. If you really need a phone now, though, you honestly can't go wrong with the Pixel 8a. Yes, there might be phones that might be slightly better value, but personally, I don't think you can go wrong with this phone. But hey, that pretty much wraps things up for this review. Let me know your thoughts on this phone in the comment section down below. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We are about to hit 100,000 subscribers. It's wild. Also, check out my main channel if you're into sneakers. Link at the top of the description below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.